Welcome back to another episode of Conversation Piece. Thank you so much for joining. It means the world. If you're new to the channel, let me know what you think down in the comments. Like the video if you enjoy it. Feel free to subscribe. I had the amazing privilege of being able to sit down and talk with a beautiful mind and just an amazing person named Miss Shirley Lytle. And I also did an interview with her husband earlier on, which I'll link up in the cards above, up in here if you want to watch that video. She's just such a incredible person, has so much to offer. Had heart disease and so many other things happen in her life, and she just shows up, she's honest, and she's real. So without giving any more information away, let's dive into it and see what you think. Thank you for coming on my show. I super appreciate it.
I'm so glad you invited me.
Whatever, it's an honor. It seriously is an honor.
No, the last time when my husband came here and did that, and I said, well, why isn't he going to invite me? I have stuff to say too.
Yes, I'm trying to build up to know what I'm actually saying, so I have someone like you on my show. I can be like, hey, hope this is worth your while.
It's absolutely worth my while.
Okay.
Promise.
Okay. So for the people that don't know you,
Correct.
And I'm sure stuff I will learn about you. You, Shirley, are a counselor, reverend, wife. I was gonna say husband, mom. Sorry. And a mom.
That's all good.
Yeah, and so many other things.
All of that.
So
I'm all of that.
What got you to this place in life to here now, today?
So usually there are major things that happen in a person's life that will kind of move them to do something different than what they're doing right in this moment. To make a long story short, when I was 31, I was diagnosed with heart disease. They went through a battery of tests. I actually coded on the table, woke up.
No way, I didn't know
after
that.
they hit me with 3 sets of, do you realize that when you see that on TV and they're going, push, push, they actually leave ring burns on your body. So anyway, so I had 3 sets of ring burns on my body where they brought my heart rate back up.
Holy
right?
smokes.
And it was just, everything changed for us after that. I mean, literally that was the turning point, because then I went from this very healthy 31-year-old that was running and doing all this stuff to all of a sudden well, that was a lie and that's not true. And really even struggling with my faith even, and including my marriage, because I just realized it's like now I'm this broken woman and I've got a 9-year-old and a husband, and it's like, well, maybe he needs to have somebody that's going to live out their life healthy, because at that time they didn't even know what was wrong with me.
No way.
I was the oldest grandchild, the only female that had a 99% block in her heart at the age of 31. Now, that will mess with your head. So I'm sitting here going, well, Daryl needs to find somebody else. So I was doing all I could to convince him he needed to divorce me. And that's how you know that God is in your life for real, because, for real. Because then Daryl goes, no, that's not happening.
Wow.
Sickness and in health. But
Yes.
at the time, I didn't even realize I was doing it. It was much later as I'm processing my life. And by the way, Black people don't go to counseling, which is why I went into counseling, so I could help Black people. And on top of that, I became a pastor because I realized you'll go to your pastor before you'll go to a counselor.
Wow.
And I saw how there wasn't enough training being had among pastors. Because, hey, they're kind of possessive of their sheep. And so how can I, send you out to go see a counselor if I don't have a collaboration with you? Wow. So, you're talking about the wife and the mother and now the counselor and the pastor. So I went through Phoenix Seminary. I got my master's degree, but it really started with that whole, wow, I'm 31 thinking I've got everything right. Daryl's job was on the upswing. I was healthy. David at that time was 9 years old, right? We've moved into our 3rd house. Who knew that, right?
Wow.
Because every time we moved, we had to find, some place to live, right? And so we bought our 3rd house, and here we are. And now this major thing happens. And you realize how a lot of stuff can mess with you. So we actually, at that time, we were in Chicago. We had no friends, no family. Matter of fact, at that time, we weren't even going to church because we hadn't found a church.
Wow.
My mom took off 3 to 4 months to come help Daryl take care of me.
Yeah, because I'm sure it wasn't a short process.
Right. You have no idea how many muscles it takes to sit up until they break your sternum from, 18 inches to get to your heart. Right. Okay. Not to freak you out. I'm just trying to tell you. Maybe TMI. But in any direction, you move from there and you look back over your life, like where I am right now, and I realize that this was all to get me to where I am now.
Wow.
Right? Yes, I'm healthy. Yes, I'm back to running. Matter of fact, I see you at the gym and, I'm doing kickboxing right now.
Yes.
So, and at the age of 58, I've got a cardiologist that thinks, and he's a runner. He's like, I think I need to keep up with you.
No way.
So it's all good, right? I think that's how God heals your body in spite of, and heals your mind, because I had to get to a point where I felt like I was worth showing up. Right?
Yes.
Because I'm physically broken, so I started becoming mentally broken. Yeah. So now when people come in and they're dealing with stuff in my office, whether it's anxiety, depression, having couples issues, which will cause anxiety and depression,
Yes.
right? Most people don't realize that. It's like, yeah, I'm depressed. Yeah, but I'm unhappy in my marriage. It's like, yeah, the anxiety and depression.
Right.
That's what I work
Hand
on.
in hand.
There you go. Yeah, now find Jesus. No, I'm only kidding. No, seriously. And so, that's my deal. That's my story, really. And so it really helps to have a healthy community around you. So I had people from my church that were praying for me in Phoenix.
Wow.
Right, when all this has happened. It was a turning point in my life. It really was. So that's why I am here where I am today.
Wow.
But it didn't happen. It didn't happen in a silo.
Right.
That's why you need people. That's why we're supposed to live in community.
Yes.
That's why we're supposed to be honest with one another with our challenges. So all of this great Facebook and Instagram stuff that just sounds fabulous, it's fake connection.
It's 100% fake.
Because if I actually needed to have let's say a kidney replaced, yes, I can get on Facebook and people can find out about donors and stuff, but I'm not going to know until you actually go and get the test.
Wow.
Which means you've got to have a connection with me.
Wow.
That can't happen by Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or whatever thing, that Bumble or blah, or swipe left or right or whatever. Right. Okay, anyway, sorry. TMI.
You said something that I really think is just so prominent in our day. I feel like it's nearly impossible not to become what it is that, like, what happened to you. If it's a traumatic thing, like how, in your mind at least, what did that process look like? Instead of letting this become this horrible thing, or allow this to become their reality, instead of doing whatever you did.
Yeah. Which is fight.
Yes.
I really... Now, keep in mind, though, when you have something like that happen to you, there is some level of trauma that I did experience, 100%.
Can't imagine.
Because I went from one day being completely well to going through having this test where it said I had a 99% block in my heart, which is where your left and your right ventricle, sorry for the, medical terms. Whatever. But the only thing that saved me was that I had fissures in my heart that was feeding that space. So to this day, if somebody were to look at my heart, they wouldn't see any dark spot at all, because my heart just stopped altogether. But I realized that it was the brokenness that said, okay, I need to get better. I need to feel better. I went through cardiac rehab. Actually, they teach you how to get back on a treadmill and exercise and know what pain is normal and what pain isn't normal. My brother flew down from Phoenix while we were in Chicago, and he worked out with me. So that's how I got into the gym thing. And I've been in the gym for a little over, 27 years. Every day. So, LA Fitness is probably mad at me today because I got my money's worth, right? I'm getting my money's worth out of you compared to when most people sign up for fitness places. It's like, I'm going to drive for half the year and I'm going to drop that because, I'm wasting my money. But anyway, true. I'm getting my money worth.
27 years.
Hello, right? They are mad, angry. No, I'm only kidding.
Wow.
I'm only kidding.
Wow.
But, there was just this determination to stay healthy. My husband refused to let me go back to work because since no one could tell us why, this came on, obviously it's hereditary,
Sure.
but he was trying to reduce my stress level. Well, that was stressful in itself.
Wow.
Because if you can only be home so long, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got to do something. Well, in my mind, I had to do something. So once we moved back to Phoenix, it was just a matter of trying to stay healthy, trying to stay busy, trying to figure out things that made me happy, and I was doing things on purpose.
Jeez.
Right? So I ended up going back to work, started part-time, went to full-time, worked for Chase Bank as a senior auditor for 15 years.
Jeez.
And then I said, yeah, it's time for Shirley to do
Yeah.
what I'm called to do.
Wow.
So quit my job, went to seminary, graduated, moved to Washington, got through the process of being licensed, which that's more than a notion.
Really?
To be a licensed mental health counselor in Washington is
Gotta
a lot.
brutal.
Over 3,000 hours total that you have to accumulate before you could actually be licensed.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and then I've been in private practice here for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Sometimes you have to think about stuff and go, okay, you only know how to live, but to be on,
Wow.
right?
Yes.
But once I got past that point of feeling sorry for myself, right? And trying to figure out why in the world would this happen to me,
Right.
right?
How did you do that?
Some of
Stop
that,
feeling sorry for yourself.
I know where the turn was. So now I'm like 8 months after my surgery,
Okay.
and I get a call from my uncle. So my uncle at that time was about 50 years old, and he said, Shirley, they want to do a bypass on me, and the first person I need to speak to is you. I'm refusing to have the test until I talk to you.
Wow. Okay.
And he had to have a triple bypass.
Jeez.
And that's when I realized, oh, I can be a help to somebody else
Wow.
because I've gotten through this.
Wow.
And yes, he did. And granted, his situation was different. He
Sure.
was diabetic, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
But it was that I'm refusing to have this done until I talk to my niece. And people are like, who is this niece? And why do we care? And it's like, because you don't know.
Right. You have no
Yeah.
clue.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So
That's nuts.
that was a transition for me. It was a
Realizing,
transmission. Absolutely. And then just keeping my body healthy. I refused to give up because I just refused to give up on myself.
Wow. Which I feel like is, to me, it kind of seems like a little bit of a lost, not a lost art, but not something that people do very much. It's very, I feel like, at least I should say in my sphere, the people that I know, it's like, you're waiting for what can you get from me?
Yeah.
What can you do for me to help me? And like hard work and determination is not as common as I guess it was.
Well,
Or
or
it seems to
imagine,
me.
or imagine there's a difference between being committed and motivated.
Oh.
And so the question is, which one do you need to have first?
Wow.
Commitment or motivation? What do you think?
For myself, I think for me, it was originally motivation that got me to the gym.
Right?
And then shortly after that, it was like, oh, this only lasts for a half second, and I need commitment to like stay in it.
And actually, there's your answer. You really had to be committed
Yes. Oh,
so
yeah.
that you can stay motivated
Yep.
to stay in the game.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
But we usually get the whole thing of motivation through sports.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you got to be motivated, get out there. And in actuality, if you talk to a lot of football players, they had to have the commitment to put the shoulder pads on, put a helmet on,
Yep.
and run into that wall that's 350 pounds.
Yeah. Over and over and over.
and over and over again, and be motivated by their paycheck or whatever
Yeah.
to keep doing it. Yeah. So I thought about it. It's like, no,
Wow.
you've got to be committed. So
Wow.
I became committed or recommitted to my relationship with my husband, to my relationship with my health, to my relationship with God,
Wow.
so that I could keep moving. Wow. And sometimes that works. And sometimes you fall down and you get back up.
Yes.
But scripture, it says that a good man falls down 7 times. So a good woman got to fall down at least 8. I mean, I'm sorry.
Probably like
Never
2,
mind.
maybe.
Yeah. There you go. So that's my space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just really quickly I want to ask about, what about counseling? Because you were in the banking industry for a while, and then what made you to get into or dip over and realize, no, this is what I'm supposed to do? Was it from watching people's lives fall apart? Well, like, what caused you to go this?
Well, if you ask my mother, she would tell you that from a very young age, when I was very teenagery, I've been telling people what to do. Anyway, but as I see my life, I've always been in a counseling mode, either in layman terms through our church. Daryl and I would do, marriage ministry, and then marriage conferences where we brought people in, but we also spoke as well. So that's been the underpinning of most of my life, actually, because we learned early when Daryl and I got into challenges early in our marriage, and I'm like talking year 1 and year 2, that we would go to counselors, and often the counselors would say, well, if it's going to make you happy to divorce him, then that's what you should do. And I'm like, what the heck?
What?
Do you know who we are and what our Constitution is, which the foundation is Christ? I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
We are committed to one another. And so we realized actually that there was very little being done in the way of encouraging couples, and specifically in our denomination, encouraging Black couples. And so that has been the premise. But overall, we don't do enough, each one reach one. And so that's how that happened for us.
Jeez.
And then happened for me. And then I just kept moving forward in the process to even when I took the job originally part-time at the bank, I was a credit card collector. So I'm sitting up there counseling him as I'm saying, now what you need to do, child, is get on this payment plan. And then you need to figure out why you're spending money on stuff that doesn't matter to you.
Ooh.
What do you think about that? Them shoes that you bought 6 months ago, you can't even find them. And right here it says you spent $200 on it. What the hey? Yeah, you might want to stop doing that.
Wow.
So that was already happening.
Oh man.
Like during the day I'd be the vice president of the credit department, in the quality control, and in the evening Daryl and I were talking to couples from the church. Yeah. Which is what led me to go into seminary to get a master's in counseling and family.
Jeez.
Yeah. See, only God could do this. Because if I had to orchestrate this stuff, we'd be on the street, child. Anyway, no comment. Anyway, so yeah, that's why I do that. But I love what I do. I really do. Because people need help. People need someone to talk to that's not going to give their reasoning or understanding at times, or they have their own agenda or their own motives. And I meet people where they are.
Wow.
Absolutely where they are, and we go from there.
Which at least I know in my life, experiencing counseling, I feel like is literally everything. To have someone not just be like, I don't know, like, okay, well, just shut up and do this thing, or like, well, you should get divorced then. It's like, so you're sitting across someone going, you actually care, and you actually can help me.
Right.
This is a phenomenon to me.
Who knew?
I know.
Yeah. My clients feel that way.
I mean, yeah, I've spoken to a lot of, even the people we went to dinner with, and it was like, their marriage before, their marriage after.
Oh, yeah.
It was insane. At least
they're
from what
good
they told
people.
us.
Yeah, they're good people. It's the journey. I love their stories, and it's the journey.
Wow.
And so you're walking alongside someone in their journey while they're going through life.
Wow.
Everybody needs that.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the last thing, and then I'll move on. And I feel like that is like the epitome of our world right now. It's like the opposite. I got social media and Instagram, and I can just take a photo or whatever and create this ridiculous false sense of reality, which is not real. And community is everything, like you said. And it's just like, well, that's the thing that's so interesting to me, that even just going to the grocery store. I was thinking about this the other day. People call it the Seattle Freeze. It is, call it whatever you want. It's just, people are so ridiculously like islands to themselves. And I don't know how to do it other than like I think about you guys when I go out. I'm like, well, what would they do? And I just go, hey,
yes,
how's it going? Wake up, like I just, to me, it's so sad. And social media, I don't think, this is my opinion, I'd love to know what you think. I don't think phones or social media are morally right or wrong. I think they're pulling out the stuff that's in us that's broken.
Absolutely. Absolutely is pulling it out.
It's like just magnifying it.
And so what you can only give what you have, right? Mm-hmm. And so imagine if you're living in a deficit as it relates to connection. So then that means you're going to have a hard time connecting with me because you just don't have it in you. Wow. Now, most people will not realize that they don't have it in them because they think that they're fine. But see, that's that sense of entitlement that we think, oh, you should entertain me. Pull up a pretty picture. Allow me to be, like energized by what you're doing over what am I doing to produce some type of energy? What am I doing to lift myself up? Now, granted, we all need other people. Even now, and I don't mean that from, oh, you need to be married. I'm talking about, healthy single people need to be able to be around healthy single and married people. Healthy married people should be able to be around healthy single people. You know why? Because you're good with yourself.
Wow.
Most of us are not good with ourselves. So if I'm not good with me, if I don't know what, at the minimum, what my core values, in other words, how I make decisions, if I don't know what those core things are, I'm going to have a really hard time identifying what's wrong with me.
Wow. You just keep saying things I really want. Okay, last question about this and we'll move on. So how in the world, and I guess simple way, how does someone go about doing that? Like someone's watching this video going like, oh my gosh, that's me. Or feeling like, oh yeah, I feel that way. How do you begin the process? So
a great thing about trying to figure out what your core values are is just kind of sit down and think about, how do I make day-to-day decisions? So you're trying to make the unknown known. Because most people, when they make a decision, they really haven't identified how they make that decision. So you're trying to make something that you automatically do without thinking. Yes. You're trying to make it more aware so you can have self-reflection.
Wow.
So imagine that family isn't, so a good one is family. Okay. So if someone has mean mugged your wife while she was at the grocery store and she comes home and says something, you immediately feel a certain kind of way about it. That's a sign that family is a core value for you. Right?
Yeah, yes.
Right? Now, now I know that that's a no-brainer, but imagine if when you're making a decision, you're also making decisions that say, oh, okay, how's this going to affect my family?
Wow.
If I take this job, what's going to happen to my interaction with my family? If I don't take this job, will I miss out on being able to give them this, that, and the third, right?
Wow.
So core values are huge because it will tell you why you do something and why you don't do something.
Wow.
Now, often we'll get into these altercations with people and you'll leave and you'll start wondering, why did that make me so upset? Why did it make me so bothered? It's because they're stepping all over your core value and you're sitting up there going, I'm never going to hang out with them again. And it's like, no, figure out what's going on with you.
Wow.
Right? Because then you can have some self-reflection and say, okay, everybody's not going to have the same high food chain, a core value that I do.
No.
All right, can I tolerate, and I say that at first, can I tolerate being around someone that doesn't have my same viewpoint?
Wow.
Or is it okay for me to be intrigued by the fact that this person thinks completely different than I do, and I can still be okay, I can still sit in the seat and have some meaningful endurance. In other words, in order to stay in the conversation, in the relationship, I can sit there with your way of seeing something compared completely opposite than how I see something. Yeah. That's why, but it started at the core value. Wow. So I usually tell people, figure out what your top 5 core values are. If you've got 10, you got too many and your brain ain't that, I'm sorry, your brain ain't that deep and wide to go down. Oh, which one is it? No, because your brain's going to do this.
Yes.
It's going to hit it right there, right?
Yep.
And so just be nice to yourself. And then what I would do is figure out what those top 5 are and then go ask somebody that's really close to you, hey, babe, hey, honey, are these big for me? When I make a decision, is this high on my food chain? Right? Because see, what we want sometimes are the things that we want to be seen for. Like we want to say we have high integrity. We want to say that we are trustworthy. But you just told somebody else's business the other day. So no, integrity is not that. And that's okay.
Wow.
It may be something else. It may be community. Well, I felt my community needed to know your information. Never mind. Shut up, Shirley. But you see how we can do that? I know it makes you laugh, but you know it's the truth, right?
It's so true.
You know it's
That's
the truth.
why I'm laughing.
But figure out what those top 5 are.
Wow.
And then what you need to figure out is, how does it show up for me at its best good and when it becomes a problem? So case in point, justice is a huge one for me, right? So if I see you standing at a grocery store and someone is messing with the cashier is trying to be disrespectful to you, I will run up there in a heartbeat and go, excuse me, where's the manager? That is completely rude and it's out of order. Now, it took my husband after we got married for him to say, baby, you don't need to save that person. They might be able to save themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So the good part is that, hey, I feel everybody needs to be treated equally.
Yes,
The downside is I need to regulate when I jump in for somebody.
I
Because
relate to that.
that's not cool.
Yep.
Right?
Wow.
So if I watched you deal with being poorly treated and you walked off, I'm going to feel some kind of way. Why? Because I'm on the downside of my core value. So in my self-reflection, I'm going to go, oh, I should have done better than that. Wow. I should have represented Christ in that situation. But trust me, figure out what your core values are and have a healthy sense of self-reflection, you go in places. Wow. I promise. At least in the human race, anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Because trust me, people that are not doing their work, you will be able to tell. Ooh, wow, you got a situation going on. I'm going to leave you to yourself. See you later.
Wow.
Yeah. Because in that way you can ban or minimize toxic people.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Ban, minimize.
Yes.
So you cannot ban family. So if you got toxic people in your family, it is what it is. Minimize the amount of time you hang out with them.
Yeah.
But you definitely can ban people that are not kin to you. Well, sometimes you could even ban them. But anyway, you can ban people that are not kin to you.
Okay. So my question for you is, my attempt at a question for you is, what in the world that we live in now, and this is my perspective, it seems like we've someone who thinks differently than you, and it also feels like pick any topic right about now. Not even the big ones.
Right.
If you think differently than me, it's no longer your differences is great. It's what makes us different. It's what's like brings value to people and community. It's like I hate you because you're different, and I will do everything at all costs to shout you out on Twitter. Like I saw YouTube some TED Talk where this lady sent out a joke. It was misinterpreted on Twitter.
Yeah.
She got on a plane, turned her phone off, got back off the plane in 6 hours. She lost her job, and people were destroying her. Just digged up all the dirt they could on Twitter and destroyed her. So case in point that. So I feel like we've lost the ability to do this beautiful thing, which is like, my gosh, you're made on purpose.
Yeah. But we've got the first place when I see things like that and they're happening on Twitter, on Instagram, is that we've now learned that we're entitled to badmouth, trash, provide commentary about people we don't even know. So in other words, the screen now is my protective agent to say and do whatever I want to. But see, in the end, that stuff comes back to you it comes back up like a bad piece of cheese. It was never meant to be used in that manner, right?
Wow.
Because at some point that you're whether you believe in karma or not, that stuff is going to come back on you. Number two, you've decided to make a judgment call about a person without getting any more information. We've lost it. I'm just going to jump in and make a commentary, and it's like there's no later retraction. Nobody's doing retractions.
It's there forever.
Exactly. And I think that some of the things that are happening now, some of the young people, actually even some of the older people, are going to look back and realize how much it's going to hurt them.
Wow.
I really do believe either whether it's hurt from someone contacting them back and saying, hey, that was really hateful, mean, and cruel, to at some point we do grow up and we go back to some of the things that we've done and realize, yeah, I had lost my grace and my mercy in that situation. And I think it's time for us to we don't have healthy self-reflection. So a minute ago we were talking about core values, right? But the issue also is self-reflection. Would I want to be treated that way? And usually the answer is no. And you know the answer is no. But you think you can get away with it and say whatever you want to say, and nobody's going to come back to you. And there's enough special people in the world that will co-sign on your foolishness.
God, so true.
And then wonder why, I thought that was a legitimate, you didn't even do your own due diligence to process if the statements are true or even if it's even necessary for you to respond. Now we just react to stuff. We don't think about, is this something I should respond to?
No.
We react to it.
Wow.
And so if it's kind of, I know this is a hard thing to say, but it's kind of like lynching. Let's just go ahead and put the rope around somebody's neck because they don't look like what we look like.
Yep.
They're not acting the way we want them to act. And I've been offended by it, not to mention the fact maybe they were just trying to correct you. And so now I'm going to hang you for it. And that's really what's happening on social media. Just pick and choose, close your eyes, pick a subject, and that's the way it is.
Gosh.
Imagine that. And so we've gotten more and more desensitized. And it's not, so people are talking about all the violent games that are out there that's encouraging young people to go out and shoot other people. No, I don't think so. Wow. I think that we have been, drawn in a way and enticed by our own lust to have our way, our own lust to say what we want to say, and our own lust to say, hey, I'm entitled to do this because I can. And so that whole idea of discrimination, we've just gotten smarter at how to discriminate against people.
Wow.
That's all. We've just gotten smarter about it. It's not like discrimination is going away.
No.
Actually, we've got enough people speaking, enough hatred and distrust in people that, I'm justified to put my stuff out there. Wow. And then wonder why there's a problem.
Hello. So then I have to ask a question then. So how do you begin to make any effort to not undo, but like, I don't know. My brain is like, I'll model for you then how you can do this.
But I think that's the space right there, right? You need to model it. It says, speak the truth in love so that we can all grow into the maturity of Christ, right? All of us need to begin to speak truth that builds love. Wow. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I've got to say stuff to you that you're going to like every time. But just but imagine if I am trying to articulate something to you that is really going to hurt your feelings or mess with the perception of something. If I'm saying that to you in such a space where you can see, first of all, it's hard for me to say, that it's difficult. I know it's going to be difficult for you to receive, that you could receive that in a place of love. Now we're both growing up. I'm more mature because I'm being responsible for my words. Yes. You're more mature because you're willing to receive the word and determine if it's something you need to own. Wow. Right? The other thing is, why do we keep responding to the stuff that doesn't belong to us? That's your bag. You unpack it at your house. I have my own. I'll unpack mine at my pad.
Wow.
We have lost that ability to do that, right? So when people sit there and they go, oh, I'm going to respond to that. It's like, why? You're not even invested in the subject matter. You don't. Hello. But yet now you've put commentary out there that does what? Encourages somebody that's special with their words. Wow. But I do feel, though, if we took ownership of how we would build people up, and the building of people up includes giving them feedback they may not like. But I would rather get that feedback from you than to sit around acting crazy.
Yes.
And not doing something that would actually help me.
Yes.
So when I always put this question out here, would you rather hear the truth from a friend or an enemy?
A friend all day long.
Now, interesting enough, though, when the friend comes to tell you that you've been unkind and unfriendly, you'll go, oh, that's because you're saying I wasn't nice to you yesterday and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to discount that. But then when your boss comes up there and says, oh, by the way, you're going to get blah, blah, blah done. Oh, now you believe him. You know why? Because there's an immediate consequence.
Yeah, hello.
So do you want it soft or do you want it hard?
Wow.
So God will come at us soft, bring somebody along to help our hard head, and then we will reject it. And so it's like, so now I got to bring your enemy. Wow. There you go. Have fun with that.
Wow.
I'm still going to be walking with you.
Yeah.
But I tried it soft. You didn't want to receive it. So now I got to let you see this right in the mirror.
Wow.
And now you've got to struggle with it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
But do you see where?
Yes.
So
That's
yes,
so
you say
valuable.
friend any time.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to figure out. Oh, is that a friend?
Right.
Because we say friend
Yeah.
too loosely.
It's very loose.
Yeah, and sometimes they're acquaintances,
Yeah.
good acquaintances.
Yeah.
But if they won't take a bullet for you, I don't think they're your friend.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I feel like that's the other thing that I don't have to sit here and talk about, but is like also knowing, for me, is like knowing who those people are.
Yeah.
Because I used to be the kid who's like, I'm just a wet blanket, lay down, take it, no matter, people please everyone. You say that, okay, yeah, I'll change, and then that ability to be able to like do what you used to do, say so effortlessly, like, oh, I know that you're a person I'm allowing to speak in my life. We have this commonality that you'll call me out and go,
Yes.
excuse me, and I know it's coming from love.
Yes.
Which I feel like it seems it's a lot more uncommon than I thought it was.
Correct. Because now people are all knowing because they have the internet.
Right,
No,
they
so
know everything.
now I know everything.
Right.
I know everything. You just got it wrong. But the internet is not teaching you how to have compassion or
Oh my
empathy
gosh.
or care and concern for people.
Yeah.
Those are becoming novel ideas,
Wow.
niceties, and just imagine how that's breaking relationships up. Example, you were saying when you grew up you were a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with pleasing people. The problem is when the people pleasing becomes the only way how you know who you are.
Wow.
You are more than just a
Yes.
people pleaser.
Yep.
And that's why you can please people and you can also protect yourself.
Wow.
Boundaries.
Ah.
Learning boundaries. Learning boundaries.
It's
And by the
so
way,
good.
boundaries get a bad name because it's like,
Yes.
oh, boundaries, that's your way of not talking to me. No. Boundaries about keeping you safe. So it says, I'm only going to let you talk to me for a little bit about certain subjects. You know why? Because you're a little toxic. And so
Wow.
I need to put some boundaries around me as it relates to you. Don't be mad. Don't be mad.
Wow.
I'm telling you the truth. See, we're not willing to have that
No
level
way.
of dialogue, right? When you're doing something completely out of line that's going to be harmful for you 6 months from now,
Yep.
you don't want me to tell you that. You know why?
Yep.
Because you like what you're doing.
Wow.
And you like it a lot. But I'm sitting here going, 6 months from now, you're really going to be sorry.
Wow.
So I have to be brave enough to confront you. And the bravery is not necessarily the confrontation. The bravery is when I tell you what I think is going on, am I going to have to risk losing you as a friend? That's just the truth.
Wow.
And so I actually learned early that I would rather speak the truth to you and you not be my friend than to not tell you at all and see you falling down 6 months to a year later. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I would run the risk, if I'm about to say something to you that I know literally is hitting you at your heart point, at your core point. That's the whole idea of core values.
Yes.
It hits you at your core. I've got to be willing to approach you in a way that says, hey, I'm really concerned for you. You're probably not ready to hear it. And I'm going to have to run the risk that I'm going to have to take the heat for it.
Wow.
And that's okay.
What?
And that's okay.
Yeah, just one more time.
And that's okay. Yeah.
I,
Yeah. And it's happened lots of times in my life.
Really?
Hey, I'm 58. Trust me, I've done this.
Yeah.
Enough times where either I may lose a client or what, because I'm
Wow.
assessing, hey, this is what I hear you saying. Are you good with that?
Wow.
Because if you're good with it, I'm going to walk alongside you with it. But if you're not good with it, let's find another way to get around this so that you're emotionally and physically healthier.
Wow. So, a simple question, but I think is really helpful. Is there a way, this may seem kind of silly, is there a way to, when going to counseling, because I feel like, how do I say this? In any industry, like
Okay.
there's good hairstylists, there's
Yes.
people, I've worked with some that are so good at making you think they're good, they're god awful. How do you weed out some of the like, or sorry,
Are you saying, how do you find a good counselor? Okay. Oh, God.
yeah, rewind,
Okay.
edit that
So,
out.
yeah. So anyway, here's some things for you to do. Jesus. Here's some things for you to do when you're looking for a counselor, right? Now, first of all, I'm a Christian counselor. And you would think, oh, then you're only interested in people that are Christian.
Right.
Actually, no. I counsel people that from atheists to they're very sure about their faith to they're not sure about their faith to they think they're sure about their faith until we start having conversations.
Right.
Counseling is not a Bible study.
Wow.
Also,
Yes.
it is an integration of psychotherapy and using your spirituality as a foundation and a coping skill, right? So the first thing I would encourage you to do is in your spirit, ask yourself, what are you really looking for, right, in a counselor? And I would do this hopefully when you're not in crisis, but for some people, they're just flat in crisis.
Yep.
All they need is a counselor, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But when you go in, you want to see if is there some kind of connection, collaboration you feel. If nothing else, do you feel comfortable sitting with the person that you're about to tell your entire life to, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you're not, would you feel comfortable over time? So give it 2 or 3 sessions, right? Because a counselor can only help you to the degree you tell them the truth.
Wow.
And by the way, people lie to counselors all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Now,
yes.
or let's say you're not lying, you're giving your version of a story. And in this industry, which I've been in for a good 30 years, there is his story, there's her story, and then there is the story. And what you're trying to do is understand what the story looks like so you can help your client. So if you want to go to a counselor and all you want the counselor to do is say, yes, yes, oh, I'm sorry for what's happening to you, and co-sign on your foolishness, then you will find, you can find people like that. If you want a counselor that will challenge your thought process, move you along in your journey to becoming a stronger you, to becoming more healthy in your relationships and maybe in your business endeavors. I work with a lot of corporate people that are trying to work through their job and the challenges of accepting feedback and what that does to them, right? So kind of have at least 1 or 2 things that are on your agenda as it relates to counseling, because you do as much work as the counselor does. If I'm doing more work than my client, we have a problem. Like for real, we got a problem.
Yes.
And I'm like, is this the time? And I will tell them, I said, maybe this is not the time for you to be in counseling. Maybe you're not ready to do the work, but this is work. My clients do work. You know, we're moving right now into kind of the seasonal affect disorder season, SAD, right?
Yes.
And yes, the DSM-5 has changed it to something else. But to make a long story short, there are seasons. That's why I was saying there are seasons where you can feel more sad because there's less sun than other times, right?
Yes.
And so my clients actually back up to like March and April to work toward this season. So they're prepared. And so I've got about 7 or 8 of them where they're actually tracking pretty good doing this process, because you've got to have a routine. You've got, so you want to work with a counselor that has some type of idea of how to move you through whatever the situation is that you're in. Either for you to process it or for you to, do some psychoeducation, maybe you do some reading, maybe you learn some coping skills, etc., to get you through that process. That is the whole idea. So for those of you that think, oh yeah, I'm just going to go in, lay down on the couch, tell her blah, 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 and some junk, and then leave and go, oh, I feel better. Okay. You may feel better for a few sessions doing that, but at some point, you need something tangible that you can use when you leave the counseling session. So you don't want to go from one dependency to the other. So we know. And I have people that are, maybe they're professional, clients who go counseling. That's their job, is they go into, but I can always tell because they'll have all the jargon. And I'm like, yeah, that's fantastic. Now what you doing with all that information? How you sleeping?
Wow.
Yeah. Are your relationships getting any better? Well, then, so you have a lot of knowledge, but you have little application.
Wow.
And so you've got to meet people where they are. Wow. So you want a counselor that will meet you where you are. Wow. But believe me, we are human. We will make mistakes.
Sure.
We won't get it right. I do a lot of trying to connect with people so I can say, oh, I just said something that I can tell messed you up. Tell me some more about that.
Right. Let's talk about that.
Because I'm not offended.
Wow.
You know, unless you curse at me. But anyway.
Right. Then get out.
Or throw something at me. But that's why I'm doing kickboxing. Waka! Okay.
So you can sit him back in their chair.
There you go. Have a seat.
Oh, man. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. New content comes out every Thursday. Don't forget to check it out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.